안녕하세요. 뭐 마시고 싶으세요?
No Korean, English, please.
뭐? English? You want coffee or tea?
I would like iced coffee, but with just a little sugar. A little.
뭐? 아쉽다.
What you have just seen is a classic example of how nonverbal message can be easily misunderstood in intercultural communication. Today, we, Group 5, will dive deeper into this fascinating issue through our topic, Speaking with Our Words in iPhone Air Advertisement. Before we analyze the case, let's clarify what we mean by nonverbal message. Essentially, these are the ways we communicate without using a single word. Think of gestures, facial expressions, body language, or even use of time. In a globalized world, these signals often carry different meanings across cultures, which can easily lead to confusion. This brings us to the concept of speaking with our words. It's the idea that actions can send message just as effectively as language. In many cases, these nonverbal cues can be even more powerful than words because they reveal our true attitudes and emotions. Our presentation today focuses on how nonverbal communication works across different cultures. To be specific, we choose to look at global marketing, where brands must be extremely careful with the image and gestures they use. Let's look at the main case that we have chosen, the iPhone Air advertisement. As you can see, there is a clear difference between the global version and the Korean version. While the original ad used a pinching gesture to show thinness, it was completely removed in Korean version. So why did we choose this case? First, it is unexpected. It's unexpected that how a tiny hand gesture can flip the entire meaning of a global campaign. Second, it's a clear reminder that nonverbal communication is not universal. Third, it serves a real-world lesson for companies on the importance of cultural adaptation. Ultimately, it proves that misunderstanding doesn't need work to happen. But what exactly made a global giant like Apple change such a simple hand gestures? Let's dive deeper into the cultural roots of this issue by analyzing the two acts.
In this section, I will talk about the difference between the global version and the Korean version. In the American, Chinese, Japanese, Hong Kong, Taiwanese, German, British, and French versions of the iPhone Air advertisement, the iPhone was depicted between a thumb and an index finger. However, in the Korean version, the phone is shown without the fingers due to the potential misunderstanding caused by this gesture. In greater detail, Apple uses a pinching gesture, thumb and index finger, to hold the iPhone in the global version. This gesture visually shows that the device is extremely thin and lightweight. In most cultures, the gesture works as a visual metaphor. Just by looking at the small gap between the fingers, audiences can imagine the thinness of an iPhone Air. It is a very effective way to show products' features without using any words. However, in Korean culture, this same gesture may create a misinterpretation. The misunderstanding moment occurs because in the Korean context, this pinching hand gesture is interpreted not as thinness, but as a symbol mocking male genital size.
Next, I will discuss the origin of this gesture and clarify the reason why this gesture is a taboo. This is caused by the difference in Korea's view on the gesture. This pinching gesture, also known as the crab hand or 주개손, is a symbol often used by anti-male groups to joke about the size of men's genitals. To be specific, An extremist online group called Megalia used this gesture as a logo to mock men. Over time, it gradually became a symbol of gender conflict. We can see that the pinching gesture dates back to earlier controversies in Korea. It has led to criticisms of advertisements and videos by companies like Nexon, Naver Webtoon, and Postco. The reason why Korean audiences are so sensitive is that they have been similar incidents many times. Therefore, they have become used to this way of understanding the gesture. They tend to automatically connect it with its past negative meaning. As a result, when it appears in a new context, it can easily make people feel suspicious and react negatively. As the simple gesture escalated into a gender war, Apple made the decision to quietly remove it in consideration of the topic's sensitivity and past dramas that had happened to other brands, such as Nexon, Naver Webtoon, and Postco. So what can we infer from this case? This shows a message or a non-verbal language that is harmless in one cultural context can become sensitive in another. Therefore, it's a wise decision for Apple to have decided to remove the gesture entirely in the Korean version of the advertisement.
Next, I want to clarify what did Apple achieve from the ads. First, Apple avoided cultural sensitivities. Apple realized that the pinching hand gesture in advertisement was associated with a mocking symbol of a group of men in Korea. Therefore, instead of keeping the global version of the ads, Apple decided to remove this gesture from its South Korean advertisements. And this decision helped Apple avoid controversy and increase the goodwill of South Korean consumer toward the brand. And secondly, Apple ensured brand safety. Although Apple is a global brand, it still needs to localize its advertising to suit the culture of each country. In marketing, avoiding media crisis is sometimes important at promoting the products. So removing the controversial gesture help Apple avoid unnecessary debates and get rid of distractions, allowing consumers to focus more on the product instead of being distracted by other issues.
Now let's move on to a comparison between Apple and other brands. The key point here, what we call the pinching paradox. In global or in common communications, the pinching gesture is widely understood as a symbol for something thin, small, or precise. However, in South Korea, it's a taboo symbol associated with mocking male physical size. The difference shows how one simple gesture can completely change meaning across different countries. So how did brains react to this? First, let's look at some tone-deaf failures. But the point that makes us confused here is typical fail situations occur in the very country where such imagery is considered strictly taboo. The first example is a poster promoting for camping items from GS25, a big Korean retail chain. They used this gesture to take a sausage in the poster, which was accused of mocking male genital size. GS25 took the consequence of their oversight that were a severe media crisis, reduced in-stock prices, and a public apology from their CEO. And the next case is Dongsuh Foods, the company that manufactures and distributes Starbucks ready-to-drink coffee in Korea. In one of their Instagram ads, the shadow of a coffee cane was accused of resembling the pinching gesture, even though this may not have been intentional. The consequences were serious: a major public backlash, stock price fluctuations, and a formal apology. More importantly, the global Starbucks brand was also dragged into the sexist controversy. Even though Starbucks Korea is actually a separate unity, they even had to release statements to distance themselves from this incident.
So, why did this brand fail? Why Apple succeeded? There are three main reasons. First, proactive and reactive. Apple identified the cultural risk early and adjusted their advertisement before launching in Korean market. In contrast, the other brands only released statements after the crisis had already happened. Second, brand protection. Apple's strategy protected its global reputation, while Dongsuh Foods not only damaged their own brand but also negatively affected their long-term global partner, Starbucks. The last one and most important is prioritizing consumers' feelings. Apple understood that how the audience feels is matter rather than what the brand intention. By respecting Korean cultural sensitivity, Apple was willing to create a localized version of the advertisement, which was a clever strategy to strengthen their relationship with Korean consumers.
And from this case, we can draw a lesson in marketing. Nonverbal communication in marketing is a double-edged sword. It can be solved of an advertising message, helping to convey information quickly, but sometimes it can also destroy a marketing campaign if used incorrectly in a cultural context. Therefore, it is very important for businesses to note that a symbol can have many different meanings in different cultures. For example, in the technology, the pinching hand gesture means accuracy or ultra thin design. However, in current Korean culture, it means provocations. Moreover, with the development of technology and social media, businesses today need to understand not only traditional culture but also slang and memes to avoid crisis in marketing campaigns.
Not only in marketing field but also in intercultural communication. Nonverbal cues can be powerful as they can bridge language barriers. For example, when people don't share the same language, they can use gestures, facial expressions, or body movements to interpret their ideas like shape, size, or directions. But each culture have their own values. Some gestures can be a taboo in other cultures. So we recognize that the golden rule is effective communication is not about what you mean to say, but about how your message is understood by others. Thank you for listening.